Welcome back to the JW Thoughts channel. My name is Wally, and today we are going to have a bit of a laugh at some of the funniest quotes in Watchtower. As we all know, whenever Watchtower likes to quote a source, sometimes they can be a little bit goofy in their approach, so we're going to delve into that ever so slightly. Don't forget to drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hoping that we can get back on a good trajectory after taking a bit of a break there for a bit. Anyway, with all of that being said, intro, I'm sure we'll see ZZ here pretty soon. Let's do this. Alright, so I was thinking about how Watchtower likes to quote a researcher or a historian or something like that. And then they cite that to support their point, but they never give evidence. And then at other times, they do actually quote the source, or will give you at least the name of the person, or maybe a publication that it was written in. So a reasonably stubborn person could potentially find out what they were actually quoting. But a lot of times they'll just give these vague, generic things. And then in the quote itself, it'll be full of these ellipses. So you have an unknown source that's giving a broken up quote that you don't know how was edited. So it makes it very challenging. So first, with a bit of the humor, I did put together a compilation of some of my favorite quotes that I found of these. So let's just run through them. We have a 1991 Watchtower 7-1, page 8, paragraph 1, in an article called Women's Role in the Scriptures. It says, one recent book on the subject states, a current preconceived idea is that the Bible has belittled women. End quote. Some people claim that in both its Hebrew and its Greek parts, the Bible is hard on women. Is that true? So I just think this is funny because you have the double, and you'll sense a theme here after a while, but it's one recent book, and then after that it says, some people claim. Whenever you are constructing an argument, one of the first things that you need to be wary of is creating a straw man, right? So it's like, well, some people claim that this is true. But a more effective way of communicating, so if I were to tell you, oh, the Watchtower has these instances where they just say a researcher or a person or a whatever said this, you'd be like, okay, Wally, that's cute. But if I actually show you and put it on screen, oh, okay, here's the actual quote, like, it has a lot more validity to it, but Watchtower doesn't do that. 1994, 9/15, page 4, Are You Forgiving? When encouraged to forgive another for a small offense, one woman responded, no one is worth the effort it takes to forgive. End quote. On the surface, such a comment may seem cold, callous, even cynical. Looking deeper, however, we see that it reveals the frustration that many people feel when they face a world that they view as selfish, uncaring, and hostile. One man said, people take advantage of you when you forgive them. It's like getting stepped on. So again, just here's one woman, and here's what she said, and here's one man. Like, literally the person that could be writing it could be the, source that they're quoting. It's so weird, but I understand sort of the psychology behind it, right? They want to have this feeling of being editorial, and they want to have a feeling of, being a proper, investigatory magazine, or, doing good research. And so they have things like this, but because they're also so deluded, they say funny stuff like this. Well, one woman and one man said this. All right, moving right along. Watchtower, 2019, May, page 22, paragraph 4. The third decade of the 20th century became known as the Roaring Twenties, and it was characterized by far-reaching social changes. Quote, motion pictures, plays, songs, novels, and advertising all reflected the market for sexually themed entertainment, end quote, says one researcher. It's like, Well, I'll finish my quotes and then I'll give my low-level diatribe on the matter. Watchtower 2018 January, page 4, paragraph 5. Consider one example, the amount of energy he gives to our sun. Science writer David Bodanis said that each second the sun produces as much energy as the explosion of billions of atomic bombs. Another researcher calculated that the amount of energy that the sun produces in just 1 second would supply people all over the world with enough energy for 2,000 years. This one was funny to me, and it starts to sort of get at my point, and that's initially they say, okay, a science writer, and they name the person, says this. And then for the second quote, instead of naming the person, they say another researcher. So there's a lot of different things that could be going on here. You could have an instance where they're using a quote that's specifically plucked out of thin air to support a point that the original source material doesn't actually agree with. And there's been tons of videos and blog articles and stuff written about that subject. So I'm assuming most of you are fairly well aware of that. So that could be one instance. So they say, oh, okay, well, David Bordanis, he says this thing. And they say, well, another researcher says this. So it could be the case that, they don't want people actually looking into what this other researcher says because this other researcher has a lot of material, or even in the article itself or the research paper itself has something that conflicts with what Jehovah's Witnesses like to trick themselves into thinking about science or history or whatever it might be. Another instance or another reason that they could be doing some of this where they say it one time and don't say it another is that they simply don't actually have a reliable source. Maybe they are self-aware enough that they know that this other researcher that they're quoting is also a flat earther. But if people look him up, they'll be like, oh, well, that's a flat earther, so I don't want to actually, give the name of this person, because then people will say, oh, well, this guy says that, vaccines will inject 5G in your body and that the world is flat. So why would they take that person seriously? But they like the quote. And that's the more important issue here, is that, they're so attached to the idea of, oh, we're getting someone that's not a Jehovah's Witness that is, will sort of twist their words in whatever sort of way, or maybe not even twist the words, but just put the words or their statements out of context in such a way that it sort of distorts what the person was actually trying to say. And I just, any scenario of which this exists is funny to me, because you have a team of Watchtower writers that's sitting there like, oh man, well, we could quote this one guy, but Jeff, I don't know. What do we do about this other guy? Oh, it's easy. I've been here for 30 years. Just call him a researcher. Wait, we can do that? Yeah, totally fine. Just say it's a researcher, and no one will ask any questions. I envision on a monthly, weekly, yearly, whatever basis that this conversation actually happens with someone that's maybe new to the writing department, that's like been working for hours or days trying to find, a source for the point that they're trying to make. And then some old veteran comes in and says, oh, just put a historian in there and that'll work. That's pretty funny to me. Okay, let's go down the line, because these ones are my top 3, I think, favorite of all of the ones I came across. So 1974 Watchtower 515, page 302. On the basis of her studies, one researcher for a government commission studying pornography said, music, by playing on girls' emotions to arouse love and affection, frequently serves as a catalyst for love and thereby a stimulus for sexual arousal in the adolescent female. ... The music surfaces this feeling. And then they say it's from the Denver Post, July 23rd, 1971. I couldn't actually find it, but I really did try my darndest. And you need, apparently some researcher's email or something. I don't know. Maybe I can find a workaround on that. But anyway, on the basis of her studies, one researcher for a government, they hit you with the triple. It's like, at least they gave you the actual newspaper. So there is something to be said for that one. But why they add the ellipses there, who knows? Well, someone does, because they probably have access to this. Denver Post, July 23rd, 1971. Anyway, let's go to a 1974 Watchtower 815, page 487. Is change possible for homosexuals? What the Bible says in this respect accords with the facts revealed by homosexuals. Thus, an American explains the process by which his reasoning was won over to the homosexual viewpoint. Homosexuality is the product of very complicated conditioning over an extended period of time. ... In brackets, homosexuals deliberately go through a brainwashing experience. I'm gay and proud. I'm beautiful. This is reverse therapy. Now, if I'm smiling during this, and that seems inappropriate, then okay, yes, I guess foul on me or shame on me. But I have to, at least in my mind, I smile at this because it's so ludicrous. The actual thing that they're saying, apart from what we're talking about here, and I am actually going to do a video on how Jehovah's Witnesses are anti-LGBTQ. Anyway, but if you see my smiling offensive, just know I think it's funny that people can be so deluded as to say something as ridiculous as homosexuality is a product of very complicated conditioning over an extended period of time, ... In brackets, homosexuals deliberately go through a brainwashing experience. So you have this quote that's from an American. So it could just be any old American. So what American said this? And then even though they're saying an American said this, so the writer could literally just make up whatever he wanted, but he must have gotten this from somewhere. He has the audacity to still chop up what this guy is saying, and I'm guessing, who knows what the actual quote is, but I don't know. Even in 74, deliberately go through a brainwashing experience. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how dumb are you? Like, actually, how stupid are you to put those words on paper and then to have someone come through and proofread it and be like, no, yeah, looks good, makes sense to me. That is so wacky. Last one, 1996, 12-1, page 32. Who will be evangelizers? One man said that evangelism, that's a weird sounding word. Evangelism is simply, quote, not part of the Catholic psyche, end quote. Another reasoned, quote, it's good for the church to promote itself, but not through door knocking. So, one man said and another reasoned. It's their level of scholarship is so funny, because when you get to the point where you can say stuff like a woman, a person, a researcher, one man, another reasoned, an American, like, it's so goofy to think that they sit there and like, oh, okay, well, that's a good source, and that the writing department or whatever governing body member is, I guess I probably could look it up. Haha. Speaking about bad research. But whatever governing body member is the head of the writing department, you know, they can look at this and be like, oh yeah, good job, brother. You did a really fine job in really bringing in a lot of good research to this topic. Like, what is going on here? Now, one of the funny things that happens with this is once you start waking up, or once that neuron fires in your brain that says, well, I guess we'll use a Satan example. Is it really so? Or I shouldn't say Satan. It's the serpent from the Garden of Eden. So the serpent, is it really so? Once you have that, is it really so moment, I remember, at least for me and for many, 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 many people that I've talked to, whether it be through Facebook, email, text, calls, whatever, one of the things that we would do is anytime you would see this sort of an American explains or a researcher, or they quote anytime they quoted something, it became like a game of trying to find out where this actually came from and what the source material was, because Watchtower doesn't obviously just come forth and say that. And I remember when I would sit there at meetings, and I was lucky enough to be in the age when tablets were just uniformly accepted and everyone was at the meeting with their tablet. So if you turn your brightness all the way down, no one would actually know what you were looking at. And because the meetings are so basic and so simple, I mean, you can literally raise your hand almost at any point and give a semi-coherent comment about what they're talking about. If you just get a couple key words, you can just start talking about something and be like, oh yeah, nice point, brother, thank you so much. But anyway, so I turn the brightness on my Surface all the way down, and I would just look up and try and research quotes and stuff from the article that we were studying. And it was amazing to me how many I could find that were completely sort of contrived, I guess, in a way, or shoehorned maybe is a better expression. And it just always surprised me that it seemed that in almost every Watchtower that you read, you can get a instance where they do this just poor, sad, pathetic research, and they use it to make such like goofball points, like homosexuals deliberately go through a brainwashing experience. Like, what are you talking about? It's bad research to make bad points. And I thought you guys would enjoy some of these quotes. I thought they were pretty dang funny. Yep, that's about all that I have for today. So enjoy your weekend. Thank you so much for watching up until this point. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I don't think ZZ made an appearance, so before we go, the man himself. He's a boy cat, by the way. Everyone always says, "Oh, she is so pretty," or "She's so cute." ZZ's a dude with his curly tail. So now all of you guys know that. No one is watching the video but like 6 people at this point. But to those 6 people, you are an absolute good person. And for watching this long, I reckon you're 30% more attractive, probably 17% cooler, and maybe 4% smarter. Good on you.